Hello everyone and Merry Christmas. Are you starting to feel the wonderful Christmas spirit? It is in the air. I certainly feel it. Well, today I'm going to share with you how to make this delicious hummingbird cake. I cannot wait to share this wonderful recipe with y'all. So we need 2 medium-sized ripe bananas. Now you don't want your bananas too ripe because if they have too much brown on them or if they're too ripe, the bananas take on this like fermented taste, and we do not want that taste to come through in our cake. Okay, so when you're using your bananas or you're choosing them, about 50 to 60% of brown is about all you need on your bananas. Next, we're going to put in our mixing bowl 1/3 cup of light brown sugar. Now, if you are not familiar with hummingbird cake, it has been popular for the last few decades now, and it originated in Jamaica. And so the hummingbird cake, also known as Dr. Bird cake, is named for the national bird of Jamaica. Isn't that neat? And actually, it's been around a little longer than a few decades, from about the late 60s to the early 70s. So it's been several decades now. And so I'm going to share with you a way to make it using a box cake mix. And in the description box below, I will have a list of all the ingredients you need to make this wonderful hummingbird cake. So we have so far our brown sugar and our bananas. Now to that, we're going to be adding our yellow cake mix, and I'm using the 13.25 ounce box of yellow cake mix. Now to that, we're going to add some crushed pineapple. This is 8 ounces of crushed pineapple in its own juices, so in 100% juice. So once we get our mixer going, then we're going to be using 3 large eggs that I have at room temperature, and I like to put my eggs in one at a time and let them kind of get going. This cake comes out so wonderfully moist and delicious. And so once we have our 3 eggs in our bowl, let the mixer just kind of go on for a while. And I have my mixer on low because I just want those ingredients to incorporate with each other just kind of slowly. Now to my bowl, I have 1 stick plus 2 tablespoons of melted and cooled butter, and you can use either salted or unsalted butter. I've used them both. If you do use salted butter, and I'm using salted butter today, I always use the exact same brand of salted butter because I know how it works in the recipes that I love to make. And so you can use either salted or unsalted butter, and that was 1 stick plus 2 tablespoons. Now once we put the butter, the melted and cooled butter in, then we want to just make sure that we don't have any dry cake mix. Now I'm going to add my spices. We're going to be adding some ground cinnamon, and we're adding in 1.5 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. Now, if you are new to my channel, welcome in. And if you're a returner, welcome back. And I'm so glad that you are here sharing in my series of 12 days of cookies and holiday treats, where I share every single day a new recipe for a holiday treat or a holiday cookie for the 12 days leading up to Christmas. Now, also in our bowl, I put 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg as well. So that was 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. Now in your cake batter, you will have chunks of banana. You definitely want that. And you're also going to have the pieces of those crushed pineapple as well. Now I'm going to be baking my cake in 2 8-inch round cake pans. I have first sprayed my pans with some nonstick spray, and then after I've sprayed my pans, then we're also going to be using flour. This cake, you definitely want to use the spray and the flour to minimize the sticking of the cake, okay? So use both spray as well as some flour. Make sure that your cake pans are thoroughly covered with both of those. Now, if you don't have any spray, you can definitely use butter and then flour, or either if you have a regular vegetable oil, you can use that and then the flour on top. Now, while I'm doing this, I do have my oven is preheating on 350 degrees, and our cake will bake 30 to 40 minutes or until you put a tester in and the tester comes out clean. And you're going to use your tester like a toothpick or either a tester in just like a few different places, just because we also have those chunks of banana, and so we want to make sure that we don't always are testing in the chunk of banana, because then you could get like a little bit of the crumb from there. So be sure that you check in a few different places when you're testing your cake. Now I'm baking in an 8-inch cake pan. You can also use a 9-inch cake pan as well as a 13x9 pan as well. Now our cakes are ready for the oven. When my cakes are about at 25 minutes, I like to check them just to kind of see how they're doing. So next what we're going to do is we're going to make our cream cheese frosting. And so this is my go-to cream cheese frosting. This is also my cream cheese frosting that I use on my red velvet cake. And in the description box below, I'll put a link to my vlog on my red velvet cake as well for y'all. Now, if you are going to be making a 13 by 9 cake, you would need a less frosting than this. And so you would want to half the frosting for a 13 by 9 cake. If you're going to bake the cake and leave the cake in the pan and you're not going to be frosting the sides, you would need a less frosting, and so you would want to go on and reduce this down by half. And again, that would be for a 13 by 9 cake. And so far in my mixing bowl, I've put our cream cheese, and we used 1 8-ounce pack of cream cheese. And you want your cream cheese to be nice and soft. Now then to that, we added some softened butter, and I'm using salted butter, and that was 1.5 sticks of salted butter. Next, we're going to put in 1.5 cups of powdered sugar, and that was 1.5 cup measure that I was using. Next, we're putting in some pure vanilla extract, and that's 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. Be sure that you definitely want to scrape down the sides of your mixing bowl to make sure that the cream cheese, the butter, and the powdered sugar all get incorporated really well. And this is what you want your cream cheese frosting to look like. Now I'm going to chop up some pecans, and with the chopped pecans, you can either put your chopped pecans directly into your cream cheese frosting, or either you can garnish the top of your hummingbird cake with the pecans, as well as you can garnish the sides if you like. And if you'd like, you can also put some pecans in the frosting and also garnish with some pecans on top and on the sides. So we have our hummingbird cake. It is nice and cool. And so to release it, by giving it some nice firm taps on the side, and then we go on and we flip it out. I'm going to use my cake plate, and we're going to go on and start to frost our cake. Now when you start to frost your cake, you want to make sure that it is totally cool. Now I'm using an offset spatula to frost my cake, but you can definitely use a butter knife as well. And what I found is that with the frosting, what I always like to do is put a nice helping of frosting right in the middle of the cake, and then you see what I'm doing, I take that frosting and I just kind of go back and forth and work it out to the edge. Also, something else is with frosting a cake, so that you can minimize picking up too much crumb from the cake, is that you want to try to make sure that you always have plenty of frosting on the bottom of your butter knife or your offset spatula. If you're using one of those like I am, make sure you have plenty of frosting on the bottom as you're frosting, so that way you're not going to lift up too much of the crumb and get a lot of crumb in your frosting while you are trying to frost and having like a nice, as nice as possible presentation for your cake. Now if you have any cake crumbs, you see those little cake crumbs, I make sure that I take those off of my serving platter, because while we're frosting the cake, we don't want to inadvertently pick up some of those crumbs, and then they're going to end up mixed into the frosting. And so again, I put a nice helping of frosting right on top. I push the frosting to the edge, so that way I let the gravity help me to go down the sides of the cake with the frosting. And so again, I just push some frosting, a nice helping of frosting. You want to kind of just start to glide it to the edge, just like I'm doing there. Glide it to the edge of the cake, and then the gravity, you see how the gravity is going to start to help that frosting move down the side of the cake. So that way I always have enough frosting that I'm working with, and I don't have to kind of like battle with the cake on the sides. I just let the frosting kind of go down the sides, and then I smooth it out just like I'm doing there. Now once I'm done frosting my cake, I go on and put on the pecans that we had chopped up earlier. And y'all, this cake is smelling so good. You can totally smell that cinnamon and the nutmeg and the banana in the cake. So we have finished adorning our cake with those chopped pecans. Now what you would typically do is you'd want to put the cake in the refrigerator to let the cake just set and the frosting to get just a little bit firm. But we want to go on, I'm just going to cut into the cake right now, and we're going to go on and give our cake a try. Y'all, this cake cuts like we made it from scratch. I love making this hummingbird cake, and I love using the box cake to make it, because it so feels like and tastes like we made it from scratch, because of all that nice banana and the pineapple, the extra spices we put in there. Y'all have to have a bite. Go on and take your bite. Okay, now I'm going to take my bite. Y'all, this cake does not disappoint. It is so good. Thank you, Jamaica, for this wonderful national cake. It is absolutely wonderful. It has been around since the late 60s, early 70s. This is a great way to make this cake using a box cake mix, putting those little extras in there, and it just comes out beautifully moist and perfectly spiced. Well, that is it for me today, y'all. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to you and your family. I invite you to hit that subscribe button, become one of my awesome subscribers. And if you like this video, don't forget to show it some love. Give it a thumbs up, click share this video with a friend or a family. And remember, it's always good when Dyvonne is cooking for the family. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.